please introduce yourself, what you do, your story, and what you're all about.
Okay, well, it's not that complicated. My name is Paul Dirksen. I am the owner and operator of Ideal Sundecks 1979 Ltd. We are the Four Seasons sunroom dealership for the Edmonton and surrounding area.
Sweet. Now, can you tell me like a brief history? Like, where did you start? Did you start like let's say your younger years? Was it always doing sunrooms, or did you start in something else? And what got you into sunrooms?
Well, actually, the company is 1979 Ltd. Ideal Sundecks. My father started the firm in 1979, and he decided to get into constructions.
Busy. That's what we want.
Can I take it?
Oh yeah.
That's Blake. He's been with us a number of years. He took a little time off.
Yeah.
And dealing with family. Now he's back on running a crew again.
He's good stuff.
He's a good guy. Yeah, he's a good man. We actually, I'm very lucky for all the men that work here.
Yeah, like Richard was telling me about you, and he's been happier a lot. He's just been loving it here.
All right, well that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, it's your show. What's the question again?
Right. So, you obviously your dad started it. You were saying.
Oh yes.
And then, what were you doing? Were you going to school, or were you just helping out back when you were younger?
Well, when my father started the company, I was about 10, so I started working with him when I was 11.
Yeah.
Summer break, of course.
Yeah.
And that happened every year. I think when I was 14, he actually fired me 3 times that summer.
Why? That sounds interesting.
Well, that was it.
What were you doing?
Well, I wasn't paying attention. I didn't want to be working as many hours in the summertime as the other men who worked for him.
Right.
So it was a small operation, and we literally, it was old school. We would leave the shop by 7:30 at the latest, load up everything, and we would drive across town. And the rule of thumb is you didn't come back until the job was finished, if it was a day job.
Really?
And by today's standards, that job would average 2 days.
Right. Yeah. Because
And
back then it was tougher.
Getting home at 8:30 and 9 o'clock and having dinner under cellophane in the microwave was a daily occurrence in the summertime.
So then what did you do? You just said, Dad, I'm leaving early, like, whatever.
No, not at all. I was stuck there, actually. It was funny, when I was 14, I ran a crew, but I couldn't drive, of course.
Yeah.
So a friend of the family's, he was 16, so he had a driver's license, so my dad hired him to team us up. And so we would do these jobs. And now these were not high-tech, complicated jobs. They were very simple, mainly decking. Okay, my father specialized in waterproof vinyl decking, custom welded aluminum rails, and deck renovations.
So no sunrooms yet?
No sunrooms yet.
Okay.
And my father actually never did sunrooms. So
what was the name then?
Ideal Sundecks.
Okay, decks. I got you.
Ideal Sundecks. And some people misunderstand Ideal Sunrooms with Ideal Sundecks. Doesn't matter. Same Google search, you'll find us.
Perfect.
And that's easy. So I was working for him for a number of years, obviously, and then when I was in 1990, he was 53, and he came to me and he said he got diagnosed with leukemia. No. And he has to shut the company down. So that was
How old were you?
I was 21.
Brutal.
Yeah. So he says there's nothing really. We're going to sell the small commercial bay that he had and sell the assets so he can retire, and he didn't retire rich, but at the same token, his health was more important.
Right.
So he got out, and then I decided to carry on the namesake.
So not the same building, but the same name?
Same name. I just carried on. I just called it Ideal Sundecks 1979, trying to get a little bit of credibility from what my father did for the previous 13 years.
And you did that at 21?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
So, because that's a lot of responsibility starting a company at 21.
It was, actually, and he really didn't give me anything. He gave me our old 1975 GMC rusted out pickup with 300,000 miles. He gave me 5 rolls of vinyl, 10 pails of glue and for vinyl decking, and a handshake.
Okay.
So, and then I had to start all over again.
Okay.
So I did. I actually had a little Honda Civic, so I got a whole bunch of little flyers printed and folded professionally at Staples. Then I would staple a little piece of vinyl decking in the corner, and I'd hop in that Honda Civic. I'd get 1,000 printed, and every weekend I would hand deliver 1,000 flyers.
Every weekend.
every weekend.
How many jobs did you get from 1,000 flyers?
Hand dropped flyers like that with a little sample on it actually got me a bit of attention, and I just went to nicer neighborhoods, and I'd get 2 to 4 phone calls on anywhere from Sunday afternoon to Wednesday.
Okay.
Out of that, I'd normally get 1, maybe 2 estimates, and out of that, I'd get 1 job.
So you get 1 job a week.
Yeah,
For 1,000 flyers.
that's right.
And so this is interesting because what drove you to do that? Like what was the purpose behind it? Like you might say I know I just built a house in Ecuador and I was driven by purpose to build this house. So what was the reason to do that? Was it to say, hey, show your dad that hey, I can run a successful business? Was it just I want to have a wife, a kid, and a family? Or what was the driving force behind it? Because there's always a why.
Actually, I didn't know anything else at the time, and I wasn't prepared to go to school. I thought always 10 years of hard work would put me further than 10 years of school.
I would agree with that.
That was my mindset.
Yeah.
And very little money to work with, so I just did what I had to do to get a job. And it progressed because it was kind of funny. I would get into certain neighborhoods.
Right.
And I would do a job for somebody and end up doing some work for the neighbor. And then I would get work with referrals. And that's the power of referrals. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Referrals are free advertising. And free advertising is free money. So you take your advertising budget and you divide that into the amount of jobs you've sold that year. That is your unit cost per sale.
Right.
And it is not cheap.
No.
And of course we want to get the leads. Now flyers are the weakest link in advertising.
Is it?
Oh, absolutely. We have done what we call a coupon book or a mail out or something like that. And there's a number of them that are done professionally in the city through Canada Post. And they'll do, say, 200,000 units, and it goes by postal code, so you want to be careful they're not going to be sent to apartment buildings if you're not selling pizzas.
Right.
All right, and you're looking at about $3,000 for a one-time hit. So 99.99% of those go in the garbage can, and then out of that you might get 5 to 7 phone calls, and out of that you might get 1 to 2 estimates.
And then maybe 1 job at a 3,000.
If you're lucky.
So, back in the day, did you have better luck with the flyers, or is that what it is now?
No, that's what it's the flyers are intermediate. I did the flyer thing at the very beginning because it was the quickest thing to do. You needed work Monday.
Right.
Let's just go put some flyers out.
100%.
The phone rings instantly. You can go to the house instantly. You can price it instantly, and if you know your numbers, you can get a job very quickly.
Right.
Very simple. I was always 1 job behind. I would sell a job while I'm finishing the previous one. Right. Sell a job while I did the previous one. That kept me going until the Home and Garden Show came. The trade shows.
Right.
Okay, and I would always do the spring and the fall home show.
And that was money?
That was money. That's where you had people coming in. You did meet some people that were just lonely, I think just going out on a day trip, but there was people building houses and renovating their homes, and they were there for a reason to find a contractor for their service. So, and I was there. We started doing a lot of that. We did really, really well. And then after that, I started doing subcontract vinyl decking and railings for larger renovation companies in Edmonton.
Okay.
So, large roofing company, they had a decking division, I would do all their vinyl. Some of these window and roofing / do all renovation companies, I did their vinyl decking and aluminum rails.
Cool.
And then I got a phone call one day from a guy who was managing an apartment building. And he represented a property management firm. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be nice.
So, yeah, it was interesting, and I ended up getting that job. And then, how did that go next? We started getting into that. The property management renovation balconies was my game. There was only one other vinyl decking guy in the Edmonton area at the time, so it was just 2 of us. In fact, we'd even go for lunch.
You guys weren't competitors. You guys were more.
We were competitors.
But friendly.
But friendly competitors.
Right.
But he went after the new construction. I went after the renovations.
So you had your niche.
That's right.
Nice.
And we didn't step on each other's toes. And it was a mutual respect. And the renovation is where the money is if you have the manpower and the skill.
Right.
Anybody can do new construction, but we would do the rot repair. And that was a lot of fun. We did, at one point, had as many as 22 guys and 9 trucks doing nothing but apartment buildings.
Really?
Yeah, in certain cities in Edmonton, if the building was done about 20 years ago, and you can tell it's an older 60s, 70s building, and it's got upgraded vinyl decking and aluminum rails, odds are we did that building.
Cool.
We hooked an account that had private money. He had over 2,000 units, multiple buildings in Edmonton. And he would buy these buildings, we would renovate all the balconies. And that kept us busy for quite a few years.
So you started at 21, you did the flyers. When did it start to take off? Because obviously when the Home and Garden Show, that was a...
Home and Garden Show was on a regular basis. We do them twice a year.
Yeah.
Sometimes we would expand and do 4 a year by going to the Sherwood Park Trade Show
Yeah.
or the other out-of-town shows, not too far. But then the apartment buildings kept us going because that's referral, okay? And then when you're working on an apartment building, other people that own apartment buildings would say, here, I got a 55 unit, give me a phone call. And building owners know each other, birds of a feather, they stick together.
Yeah.
All right? And we did a lot of buildings by the university. We did the odd new building, but it got a little out of hand, actually. We were just doing too much business. I had a salesman at that time, full-time, and he was pretty good, but he just wouldn't pay attention if this job was a little more complicated than the other. And we had to be careful with our numbers because, okay, we can't get man lifts in, so everything's done by ladder, so we have to put in the budget for that. You learn that one the hard way by just not looking at all your surroundings. You're not just looking at the balcony and measuring and pricing. You're looking at the surroundings, the parking on the street. Do we need a permit for scaffolding that's going to be encroaching onto the back alley or a sidewalk or what have you? Protecting the grass when 18,000 pound man lift is driving over it.
Right.
And that's where we tripped a little bit there and realized we didn't charge as much. We were getting all the jobs, but after a while, hold on here. We're not making as much money for the headache.
Were you still making money? Because sometimes if you don't watch the numbers, it's just like you're only breaking even.
Got complacent, I think. All right. If you have cash flow, you get complacent.
Yeah.
So remember that. Another thing that's important is be careful who you're working for. It's a small town. I did an apartment, or it was a condominium complex. I did 2 buildings for a man. The first one, no problem. It was a brand new build. And then he paid me on the first job with no issues. Second job, a little delay. Okay, the first one went well. Why would I be concerned? Long story short, I didn't get paid for a handful of units.
Right.
The magic number was 86,000. I'll never forget that.
Really?
Bank shut him down.
Oh, so he was in default.
He was in default. So, and then there's me, and of course there's me, and we're vinyl decking, aluminum rails right at the end of the project. So me, the landscaper, the guys maybe putting the trimmer on the windows, we couldn't get our money.
That sucks, right?
That did suck. So we continued on to try and work. We were expecting a paycheck. We didn't get it. So that was probably one of the lowest forms in business at that point.
Gotcha.
We still had some residential work to do, which is easy cash flow, but at that point, we don't have the cash to operate until we get our money. So I'm trying with a very limited budget to consult lawyers and find out my options. Well, I let my lien rights expire. Bad day.
Oh, because you waited too long?
Yeah. You have a certain amount of time to put a claim against the building on your money.
So when you had that 86 hit, was that one of like the darkest hours for ideal Sundecks, or?
Yeah, pretty close. I would say that would be the worst because it was the biggest lesson learned.
Right.
Which is a good thing in one way.
So how do you screen, like let's say, how do you screen for guys who go into a default situation? Like, how would you?
It's very difficult on a new build. If you're going to work for a client, you can pull title on the house and see if he's maxed out on his mortgage, for example. If a guy wants 50 balconies done on an apartment building, pull title on the building, see what he owes, what he put down, how long has he owned it. If the building's got a small to no mortgage, life is good.
Yeah.
Okay, but he also could be a cockroach.
He could,
He could be a guy that just doesn't pay his bills. But that's where you get into you talk to people, okay? You befriend the other vinyl guys in town. You your fellow contractors. At one point, we would all be warning each other. The railing supplier, you meet up with the other guys in the same industry at the railing supplier, and you'd start talking about XYZ Builder or so-and-so Holdings, and oh yeah, he's a good guy, or no, I'm still haven't been paid from that guy. It's a small town.
Yeah.
But on that one building that I got hit on, that was interesting. It was my 25th birthday. And I remember coming home, because we still had the office at the house in those days. We actually, I'd come home, I pressed the answering machine, and I had, I think it was maybe 7 or 9 phone calls. 3 of them were asking for money, because a little time had passed, because I was getting tardy on some billing. Yellow Pages, if I recall. Anyways, and then there was 3 calls of, hey, this is Mr. Smith, when are you going to start my job? Okay, these are jobs that are sold, that are booked.
Right.
Okay. And then 3 more calls that are like, hi there, yeah, you did my aunt's balcony, and we'd love you to come and give us a price for that. So that was my 25th birthday. 3 calls asking for money, 3 calls saying, when are you going to start? And 3 phone calls say that they would like an estimate because they heard we did good work. And I am broke.
So you can't buy materials?
Oh yeah, I was in a bad spot. So we come to a conclusion that I went to my vinyl supplier, and God bless him, I said, Mr. Vinyl Supplier. And he knew my father, right? So I can't stiff the guy. So anyways, but I'll back up a little bit. My bookkeeper was advising me to declare bankruptcy. My father and mother didn't have any money, so they said, we can't help you, so you're probably going to pull the pin. But then I've heard this oil patch, and all these guys...
Money.
Well, no, these guys, they all make good money, but how many of them have gone out of business by declaring bankruptcy? And I refuse to go down that road. Absolutely, I would not do it.
Okay.
So blood pouring out of my ears, I worked a little bit harder, but I went to all my suppliers. I said, okay, if I can't give you any money, or if I can't get any product, I can't pay you what I owe you. So how about if for every $1 of product you sell me, I will give you $1.50 right away.
Okay.
And I chiseled down the bill. Did that with a handful of suppliers.
So now you made friends.
I made friends, and they thought about it too. They said, one guy said no, but after he said, yeah, well, that takes something. Don't be foolish.
Yeah.
All right. So I did pay off. It took me a couple of years, but I paid off all that debt.
So that one guy screwed you. That $86,000. That was just a massive hit. Because did you put all your marbles in that basket?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I did learn this the hard way. Never have one client put you in the position that if something goes wrong, they will put you out of business.
Right, because he had you by the cojones.
Absolutely.
Damn.
Yeah. So, and we're a little more conscious of that now. Okay. But as time, so we get back on our feet over time.
How many years did it take?
That took under 3 years.
So you're 28 now.
Yeah.
It's harder.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I even sold my house.
To get the vinyl going.
Yeah, to keep the business going. Sold the house. I lived in a little old lady's basement suite for a few years.
Did you?
Minimal rent. Yeah, true story. And I just did work around the house. She didn't need the money. She just wanted somebody at the house for safety.
Right.
She was actually sleeping one day and a burglar broke into the house.
Now you were security.
I'm security guard living for cheap rent in the basement. And it was kind of funny too because I was there for a while and I did not have any utility bills or anything. So I continued to just plug away, working away. I worked out a little mini storage at that point. And Johnny was still the salesman. Salesman that we had full time way back
Not
then.
our Johnny.
No.
Okay.
No. And we progressed a little bit more. Then I broke away from all the subcontract roofing and renovation companies, and I focused on all my own clients.
What do you mean? So you subcontracting was done.
I was
and now you're just a
subcontracting.
full-on your own
Yeah,
company.
I did my own jobs, but I would subcontract to XYZ renovations
Yeah.
and all these other companies.
So you get like a 10% cut for that, or
Well, they would sell the deal, and I would charge them so much for supply and install. So they were a renovation company. If I was 10,000, they would charge 13.
okay. So they make 3, you get
Yeah, something like that. So, and I got away from all of that, and I downsized quite a bit. And I kept the cream of the crop, and then we slowly built back up and got back into the renovation thing with the commercial, because that's what I did very, very well. And then I at the trade show, you meet other salesmen working for these guys. And one gentleman who happened to be at the trade shows that I see all the time, we'd go up in the exhibitors lounge and have a beer, and we got to know each other. And over a while, hey, I'll meet you, and let's have a beer on a Friday at wherever. Time passed, and he said, yeah, the company I'm working for that sells sunrooms, I don't know how long they're going to be around.
Okay.
I said, well, that's interesting. He said, too bad you didn't sell sunrooms. And he commented, he knew my life story about losing money and working my way back up. And he was a senior man. He actually said to me, he says, you've been broke before. I don't think you're ever stupid enough to get into that position a second time.
Right.
Okay, nice compliment. And
Take it as you can.
little time passed, and he said we happened to know a really good sunroom installer. So I would do the sales, and my friend would do the installation. And that was the beginning of our sunroom division. Right there.
So you got 2 divisions then? You've been
We were doing decking,
and you have a.
and we did the sunrooms.
Okay.
The sunrooms was a small entity of 2 men, one installer, 1 salesman. And I was having my vinyl decking, and I had my salesman, and we were doing all the apartment buildings and residential homes. And that actually went on for quite a while. We did that for really good. The sunrooms were starting to get busier.
Is it because people have more money nowadays? Like, what do you think caused people to want sunrooms more?
Well, my business got more busy in sunrooms, okay?
So there's
Because
always
we
been
were
that.
getting a reputation just like we did in decking,
Gotcha.
all right? There's always been sunrooms sold since the early 80s,
Gotcha.
all right? And all these gangster companies that were renovation companies, sunroom companies, they were slowly dropping like flies, going out of business for whatever reason.
Why do you think?
Well, I do know now, half of them were greedy. They got behind the 8 ball. They were always getting the deposit to pay for the materials on the last job, and they're taking money, stealing money, I call it, and putting it into their pocket. So if the company can't, some of these guys shut their companies down declaring bankruptcy, but they actually had money themselves.
And
So they milked it, didn't pay their suppliers or the feds.
so they did that as like crooks, they just started a business just to have the ability to pocket that cash.
I don't think they did it on purpose. I just think that's just the way it went. You know, guys, they start to do well, they start spending more than their means.
Oh, okay, they're buying nice things.
Yeah,
and
nice house, a boat. Let's go
Gotcha.
traveling. And they don't want to admit it. There's some pretty good stories about salesmen getting their paychecks from certain companies and chasing each other or trying to beat the other guy to the bank to make sure their check clears because there might not be enough for the last guy that went with his check to cash it. Oh, that's very true. Oh, very much so. So
Sounds horrible.
it is horrible, but and during that time, a couple of companies went out of business, and even Consumer Corporate Affairs got involved, where customers were being asked for deposits, literally days, if not a couple of weeks, before the company went out of business and declared bankruptcy.
Okay.
So obviously that's intent to defraud. So, and they came to us and said, "How what's it with this sunroom industry?" We took small deposits, which were a commitment deposit, and helped pay for cash flow, of course, okay? But these guys would take 30 right up to 50%,
Okay.
and then even not be so forthcoming when it comes to the permitting. And when we cleaned up the mess, when one company in particular went down, this guy paid 2 deposits, a bunch of product that was never even built, and it was put in the garage. And we showed up to build it for this poor old guy, and it wasn't even for that job. It was just leftover product.
So it's just a lie.
It was,
Interesting.
in that case. So, and that was sad. But we continued on, but as the sunrooms were continuing on the sunroom division side, I had pretty high standards because I'm still a tradesman, and the individual who was doing the sunroom installation, I started to get small service calls and little complaints, so I stepped in and got more involved on the sunroom side.
On your
On
products.
my side, yeah.
So they just weren't. They lacked the experience to do it properly, or was it just the guy just didn't have that eye to detail?
He didn't have that eye to detail.
Okay. So
And why should I bother cleaning up? I'm going to be here tomorrow. Okay?
Okay,
So, and on my decking side, a spotless job site is a must. okay?
Yeah.
The men do not smoke on the job sites unless they're having a break by their vehicle.
Right.
There is not one cigarette butt on a customer's property. We have grass rakes to fluff up. You show up, you do a really good job, you clean up at the end of every day, you show good production. People are paying big money for sunrooms, and or anything, it doesn't matter. People are paying good money for a service, okay? If they see professionalism and they see that they care, especially when you're working at their home, that you have enough respect for their property, and you're working diligently over time, if there's a mistake, because nobody's perfect, you'll find that they're very forgiving.
Yeah, 100%.
Very forgiving, okay? And I've had many of examples where a window broke or something was damaged out of the box, or we are unable to complete the job for the big birthday party that's going to be coming up in 2 weeks.
Right.
But we will do whatever we take, and people are understanding. We understand it wasn't obviously that's not your style, because we can see the way that you're working.
Right.
So, but nowadays things are different. We don't do very few. We were actually where the company is now. I took over the sunroom division and allowed the decking side to basically almost die off to a dull roar. I still have a little, I took out all the advertising of decking, and I could still do as many decks as I want. Remember, we were doing up to 300 decking invoices a year at one point.
So, is it just because sunrooms are so much more profitable, or you got a way better system to install them, like a quick, easy, fast, or what's?
Combination of things. Sunrooms they're a lot more rewarding to me.
Yeah.
A deck is a deck, and after
Yeah.
you've done 4,000 decks, it has to be pretty wild to be exciting anymore.
And I mean, sunrooms, actually, I'm just looking at your showroom, like, you have some pretty badass sunrooms.
There's some nice stuff here.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate because we deal with Four Seasons, which is a very high-end supplier. They have a Rolls-Royce option, which would be a conservatory right down to a simple screen room if you want it.
Right.
Our niche is what we call 3 walls and a roof. And it basically is a deck foundation, be it concrete pad or a wood deck. Our sunroom walls, we have a very high-end product, and we have it in a single glazed and a double glazed. And an insulated roof is something that we really promote because it's the most practical for the Alberta climate.
Yes.
A glass roof is romantic, it's fantastic. However, if it's south facing, it's hot. And we all know that we can't keep a car clean for more than 2 days in this town. So what do you think your glass roof looks like?
They look terrible.
Yeah, you have to have your window washer on speed dial, or you got to risk breaking your neck and get up there on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And we do have special glass with coatings which are easier to keep clean, but do not kid yourself, they are not self-cleaning.
Yeah.
Okay, but what we've done over time is we have slowly accumulated inventory. Okay, so in one of the buildings that we have on this corner, we have all of our windows. So we would be ordering, typically a sunroom company will sell a sunroom. They want a 35% deposit. Then they take out a permit, then you wait for the permit to be approved with the city, which could be anywhere from 1 to 3 months. And then after the permit is approved with the city, then they will order the materials from their supplier. Now, they've had a lot of money of yours as a customer for months, literally. Then the material gets shipped in, okay? There's no local manufacturing in Edmonton, so it's getting shipped from Vancouver, Toronto, Florida, California, New York, Colorado. So you have significant shipping costs. And you're always on what's called an LTL shipment. It's not a dedicated truck, so it's the milk run on it's on a trailer that's full of other products, making a number of deliveries on the way. That's what they call LTL, or what we call the milk run. So 5 times, well, I'd say about 50% you're going to get damaged goods by the time you get there.
Right.
All right, and it's expensive. LTL shipping is expensive. So we have gotten to the point where we will buy and order a complete semi-trailer of product, 53-foot dry van, and we get a 53-foot dry van across country. You can put in about 20 sunrooms materials in it, and it's the cost of the other way the other guys operate of shipping 2 rooms. So we get a big savings on that. And with most suppliers, if you buy a certain dollar figure or a dollar amount, you're going to get a bit of a discount.
Right.
And then most of them have a quick pay program where you can normally, if you can't get 3% for quick pay, all right, every company has a 3% discount for quick pay.
Okay.
All right, so you got your net 30. I'll give you your money in 7 days. I want 3% off.
Okay.
Well, you do that with half a dozen semi-trailer loads of product every year, you're doing okay. And if you need $100,000 worth of product, let me rephrase that. If you need $80,000 worth of product, you order $100,000. So you're always building your inventory.
Right.
And over the years, we have accumulated the point where we stock at any given time right up to 30 sunrooms, depending on the size.
I have a question. What about the permits? Do you have like a city lawyer that deals with rapid fire permits, or?
No, there is no rapid fire system other than being organized and submitting clean paper to the city.
And how fast would you get your permit if you can be organized?
Well, actually, it just doesn't delay it any longer.
So you're still in for a month?
At least. A month is minimum. Edmonton is averaging 90 days statistically over the last 10 years. They every year do claim that they're trying to create efficiency and make improvements, and they have made improvements, and I give them credit for where they, yep, they have. Edmonton is 90 days, and Edmonton city permitting fees with your build and development is $950. And then you also have a CAD drawing that needs to be done, so there's a fee of that, in this case $175 with our company. And then you have to have what's called site-specific engineering, which is a certified engineer stamping the CAD drawing, and it is for that house only. And these are not generic drawings. So every permit in Edmonton is about $1,850.
Okay.
And that is very unfortunate if a customer wants a $4,000 patio cover.
Oh, so it's almost half. It's going to be another 50%.
Yeah. And because of the work involved with a permit and the time it takes to get a permit, other cities and municipalities around Edmonton Metro is a little bit less money and it's quicker service. I gave you the worst example with Edmonton, but all of that extra diligence with getting a permit adds a lot of time and a lot of confusion to the job. We do everything in-house. So we will literally hand draw the information that is required to give to the CAD, because he can only CAD it if he has the correct information with pictures. Then it gets sent back. Whoever sold the deal approves the CAD drawing because he knows what the customer wants. Then it goes to the engineer. I think he has his morning coffee and looks at it for 3 seconds and rubber stamps it, and he gets his little bit of money there.
I love it.
And it is nice. We have a good rapport with our engineer. He knows we will never lie to him. We send him all the information. We send him the pictures, and he doesn't charge us for an on-site inspection, and we're saving about 40% on that portion. That adds up.
It does.
Yeah, and if you do 60, 80 permits a year, that's a lot of money.
That's all right.
And so when we charge $1,850 to a customer, that is our true costs.
Okay.
We're doing that gratis as thank you for the work. Unfortunately, a lot of companies are not doing permits. You don't need a permit.
Really?
You don't need a permit. You can get the permit when you sell the house.
Okay.
Okay, fine, yeah, that is true, but there will be a penalty, and heaven forbid something's not built to code or compliance. Then you've got a problem with the lawyers, the realtors, everybody's holding back money. It takes 90 days to get the permit, remember that. Meanwhile, you're in the sale of the house, you're getting $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 held back of your money until your permit is approved at the last minute. And the city isn't going to do you any favors. The city also will charge you double the fees for a penalty. And heaven forbid it's not built to compliance. Now you got to spend the money and get a contractor in to disassemble, build it to code, and then you have to get an inspection. So it can take 4 to 6 months. So just get the permit at the beginning. How do you go wrong by just going by the rules?
Well, you can't, especially in this day and age, because everything is so tight.
And you need a permit to breathe, okay, nowadays.
You need a permit to breathe.
So I would highly recommend, if the rule is not to use your cell phone when you're driving, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, if you need a permit to build a sunroom or a patio cover, just do it.
Well, if there's a permit for cell phone and driving, I mean, you get that.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and the point is, just follow the rules and you'll never go wrong. We do have a few, I think they don't understand the ramifications of not getting a permit to the client. or they don't care and they don't intend to be in the business long term.
Yeah.
Okay, since my father retired, I've been in this game.
Yeah, you be what? Almost
Well,
25 years now?
Well, actually, it's 32.
How old are you?
I'm almost 55.
Okay.
Okay, so the thing is that I've been in the game long enough, and I did a couple of decks years ago that I didn't do permits. It always comes back to haunt you. And
Does it come back to you?
oh, it always, well, it technically comes back to the client, the home property owner, but property owner will actually, of course, say, who built the deck? I did. And you know what, you're right. And technically, well, he didn't want a permit. Well, that's all hearsay, number one. Number two, if it ever ends up in court, the judge is going to say, you're the professional contractor. You know that you're not allowed to build without the correct permit documentation.
So you'd have to have it signed in writing that he doesn't want the permit for you to be...
I actually almost refuse to do it now.
Gotcha.
I don't want to get involved. I had a man, prime example, nice old couple in a duplex condo. We're going to die here. I don't want a permit, and my son can deal with it. Okay, fine. We build a sunroom. He passes away. Mom has to sell the property. The son gets involved helping mom sell the house. The son finds out that we never pulled the permit. Well, now I'm a terrible person. Okay, so we take out the permit.
Gotcha.
And if it's a farmer out in the middle of nowhere and he's got 10,000 chicken coops all over his quarter section and he says, I don't want a permit, fine, sign here, drop of blood.
Yeah.
Odds are that one will be okay.
Gotcha.
But you need a permit.
Yeah, I got a question. If you didn't choose to do decks or sunrooms, is there another avenue you would have like gone down? Like when you look at the world from these eyes of, let's say, Paul at 55, would you say, hey, I think I would have had a lot of success there, or what kind of avenues do you think would have been of excitement?
With the knowledge I have now?
Boom, you're 25 again, 21 again.
21 again, knowing what I know now?
What would you do?
First thing I'd do is go get my P&G, then get into the sunroom business.
P&G, what's that?
My engineering certification.
Okay, why?
Because I can rubber stamp my own engineer drawings and not have to pay our friend.
So how hard is it to get P&G?
4 years of your life and hell. In fact, your very first day of going to engineering school, depending if you're going to be civil or structural or whatever, you're all put in the same room and they say, see the guy next to you, shake his hand because there's a good chance you're not going to see him in 6 months.
Gotcha.
80% quit.
Right.
Okay, and...
If you're not a quitter.
Well, it depends. I didn't have to go through that course. It is more rigorous more than it was in the old days. If I would have done this, if I would have had somebody say, do it, however you, with hell and high water, just do it, find the money, do it. I wish I would have, because it was easier to get in those days. Nowadays, the exercises, the knowledge, you're learning a broad scope of stuff that you're never going to use if you focus in one field. Okay? So it's just like in school, you learn a bunch of math and even some in English, language arts.
Right.
Unless you become a writer, you don't need to know as much as you have been taught.
You just need to know a little bit of common sense and hard work and how to save your pennies and put that into an intelligent place.
That's right. But no, actually, the sunroom game was a good game. Actually, I like it. And actually, I'm more into structural. I always have been. I started working with fixing a little bit of rot on a wooden deck when I was younger, and it just progressed into major rot renovations, to lifting corners of houses to get beams in, and taking living rooms out to put in cantilevered beams on apartment buildings. And it's always been fascinating to me. If you put this here, that don't fall down. And,
yeah.
And then over time, you slowly just learn the simple calculations for engineering, and then you learn your different materials, hemmed fir versus dug fir, and you can do a 20-foot span if you use this product versus that product. You learn that with experience, and then you retain that knowledge. That's the key.
That's so cool, because I look at, let's say, for example, I always look at successful people, and you can go to zero money, and I know in like 2 or 3 years you'd be back up to a 6 or 7 figure income, just because the knowledge that you attained, it's like you can't people think that's like a viable thing. It's like, no, you got to go through the ringer.
You have to go through the
You got to
ringer.
be stepped on, and then you can smell people, you can smell phonies. And my parents, they run almost auto parts, and they did a similar thing. They went to the ringers, and I know everyone to zero. I know my mom and dad, they'd be able to
Yeah.
go back up just because of the knowledge they have obtained.
Yeah. You learn better when you learn hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
And pain teaches best.
Yeah, and I have my PH in the School of Bullshit.
So another question is, I always find it, I worked in oil and gas, and I've been with some of the greatest leaders I've ever been with. How, because obviously to run a successful company, it's from the top down, right? Like leadership runs from the top. How do you structure it? Like, do you have it as it coming up to you, or do you do it like, hey, these are your individual groups, you guys, this is your task, get it done, and then you just give me a report and that's it? Or do you go to job sites? Like, how do you run the leadership side of Ideal?
Simple day-to-day operations, actually. I'm not quite where I want to be as far as an absentee owner, by no means.
Oh, is it possible?
In this industry, I think it is, but we would have to be a little bit bigger firm. All right. Now, every person you hire who's going to manage people, they can manage up to 6 people efficiently. After that, forget it. All right.
How much do you manage?
Well, I handle 12.
And is that super stressful? Or
No.
is it because you have experience with
I just know how to do it. Okay, but it's a lot of time. A lot of time, and that's something you do have to watch. I never raised a family because of this business.
You don't have kids?
No.
You don't have a wife?
No, I have a wife, okay, and I think she's still at home, yeah, but
Are you thinking about kids?
no, too late. In the earlier years, another thing too, when you're running a business and you really want it to be successful, you have 2 ways of doing it, okay? You're gonna work your 9 to 5 and you're entitled to your weekends and going to the beach and all this kind of stuff. But Monday morning, you're going to be stressed out because you have not accomplished everything.
I know.
Okay? And depends on the type of industry you're dealing with. Okay? On the sales and the front office side of this company, I do very little because they know their stuff and they're professional, and I don't get involved until a deal is sold. The young lady, she knows how to pay all the bills. Our secretary, I get a report every Friday of every financial in the company. That's very important, by the way. Know every dime, okay?
Yeah.
Don't waste the pennies. Focus on the dimes, okay? And then the old days, take care of the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. You can get too carried away of being too much of a penny pincher, and let the guys cut loose. If in the old days, what kind of printer are we getting and how much is it and what's the maintenance cost for the ink and all that? No, if you have somebody you trust, let them just buy the damn thing.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's $300 or $900. Okay?
Yeah,
I trust their judgment.
Yeah.
Or if it's $2,000, pick a number. She does not come to me for certain purchases.
Right.
Okay?
So delegation.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. That's her job. She takes care of it. And the nice thing is every Friday I get what I call my little Bible, and I open it up, and it tells me every check that is not cleared. Well, how much money we have in the bank, how much money we owe to any suppliers, how much money is owed to us at certain stages of jobs with progress payments or whatever, how much commissions guys have made, and how much business we have in the future. So that's the key, all right? And again, I don't have to get out the calculator and add everything up. But I know that for some reason this guy did not cash his check for 3 weeks. Let's find out why. Turns out we call the customer. Hey, or the vendor. You phone the guy. How come you didn't cash your check? Oh, I didn't get it. In fact, I was meaning to call you. I said, well, we mailed it 3 weeks ago.
Interesting.
All right. And pay your bills fast.
Yeah.
Pay them obscenely fast. We had a bookkeeper for 14 years, and she tragically got sick and passed away, had cancer. And with our track record of paying our bills, I was phoning all our suppliers sort of saying, we're in a little bit of a conundrum here. We're going to get organized. I just don't know if you're monthly bill, billing that we have to send you is going to be on time or not. Every supplier, every single one just said, Paul, do not worry about it. Just send the money when you have time.
Gotcha.
So obviously that's a track record.
Yeah.
And I remember even the head of billing with, at the time it was Totem, not Rona, and the lady who was the head of billing, and this is big companies, she said, do not worry about it. We will not cut you off on your line of credit, and we will allow you to keep operating. Just mail the check when you can.
So my next question is, so how do you take a step back then? How would you change the structure then, where you don't have to be here and look at that book? How would you find the person you trust enough to open your little black Bible?
Ironically enough, I've been looking for a success for some time.
And have you had any luck?
No, not really. Okay.
And how would you find it? Because you'd have to give them a percentage then, right?
No, you can just give them an obscene wage. Okay, people work for money too.
But I mean, the nice thing, like just in what I think, especially at this, maybe just because of my generation, is if he has like a percentage of the business versus like I get 10% or whatever, it kind of makes him more, I don't know, it's like it's part of his business now.
Oh,
right?
fair enough. On the flip side of that, now I'm accountable to him at year end. I do not want any partners. I've had obscene money offered to me to double and triple this company overnight if I want to. Okay?
Yeah, partners is you can't have.
I don't want a partner for anything. Even my wife, I will give her money to not come here. Okay? So she does the bank deposit, and she does a few things. She runs errands, and she technically does work for the company on a very, very casual basis. But I don't want to be accountable to anybody, and maybe that's me not letting go.
There's one leader. If you look at all through history, there's only one decision maker.
But in the same token, every good guy in business has good people working under them.
Yeah.
The key is that Christmas is a good time around here. Okay, we track how much money the people make with their wage or salary. We also track the efficiency and the callbacks that they might get over. We do it on a quarterly basis, and basically we've kind of come to a formula that if a guy makes $100,000. Give them a $10,000 bonus at Christmas. 10% seems to be the magic number.
Makes people happy. And they feel appreciated.
It's appreciated, and you're not telling, they don't really know. They're expecting, the guys have been around for a long time. I've had one salesman been with me from day one, the one chap who we started with. Bernard, yep. And we've had two main installers for over 17 years. And we have the gentleman who came back just recently who was dealing with family. And so those are three really good crew leaders. And again, some guys are better producers than others. And I don't believe in seniority. I do believe in performance.
100%.
And I don't care if a brand new guy comes along and he's got to prove himself, and everybody behaves themselves for the first 10 days or 2 weeks or 2 months. But will they be there in 6 months or a year? And you take care of them slowly, and if you give them a fat turkey at Christmas, the women are even saying something like, their wives, you're not quitting there, you're going to stay there. I've had a number of people come through the door who've been either down on their luck for whatever reason, almost as low as I have been, and they don't know their next step, so their little renovation company was not successful for whatever reason. They just got to get a 9-to-5 job, get paid, or get piecework money, and get themselves back on their feet. They become family here for a little while, but I can smell they're not going to die here, which is fine. I respect that. And one guy, he was a recovering alcoholic. He got himself out of the ditch. He met a really nice girl, worked here for about a year and a half, if I recall. And he gave me about 4 months' notice saying, I'm going to be quitting at the end of October, for example. And to this day, he has a very, very successful kitchen and bathroom renovation company, and he's doing wonderful.
Must feel good.
It feels fantastic. And I have another same story with a guy in the window business. Now, I've also had a handful of guys who I would appreciate not seeing again. But you know what? Always just pay them, no matter how upset you are. We have a joke around the office. No matter what you do, short of stealing from the firm, you will always get paid. It'll just be your last check.
Fair.
And that's it. And I had let a man go not long ago, last fall, and he just could not catch on. Nice guy, I liked him, talented, finishing carpentry background. He just could not catch on to this. Okay, this is not brain surgery, but there is a very methodical step, a way of doing stuff. When we start building a sunroom, we're thinking of the last screw on the gutter.
Right.
And you have to in this industry. And that only comes with experience.
Yeah.
And I have it in my budget for what we call the oh shit factor. So, okay. And then the guys come to me and say, I want to try it this way. And I go, okay, well, I know it's going to be a cheap mistake. So yeah, go ahead and do it. I don't mind.
Okay, yeah.
But if I say categorically not to do it, please don't, because I know it's going to be a very expensive mistake.
That's awesome.
All right.
I get that.
And now we have, we could run double the crews if we wanted to. I am fortunate with my, what I will call family guys who've been with us for so long. They take a lot of the creepy burden off of me. All right.
Solid.
They're solid. I get a service call for whatever reason, and normally a service call to us is adjusting a window or fixing something that's very, very minor. Most service calls probably takes more time to drive there than to fix it. But they'll say, hey, I'll do that for you. But I still put in the long hours. I still enjoy it. And at my age, at 55, I still got at least 10 years, I hope. Okay.
Well, it's all mentality.
Yeah, and I still have a passion for the industry. A competitor, I don't even really call him a competitor, another guy in the same industry, he quit about 5-6 years ago. He retired. His company became insolvent. And what had happened is he became too big too fast. And he relied on the wrong person to run his company so he could be a little more absent.
Right.
And unfortunately, when he went out, and he came to me about even 3 years before, 2 years for sure, before he pulled the pin, and he said he hated his client. Interesting. You hate your client. And those were his exact words. And I thought, oh my goodness, if I ever get to the point where I hate my client, that's when I got to get out of the business. Why did he hate his client though?
Why?
Because he was having trouble with the jobs, which means the product wasn't being ordered properly. There was too many mistakes. It boiled down to the individual running the company for him.
Right.
So it's a catch-22, okay? I don't want to be here, 70 hours a week. Sometimes I am. But at the same token, this is a clean operation. I have, out of anyone in the industry that I'm aware of, I have the highest percentage of 5 out of 5 star Google reviews with the volume that we have.
Badass.
And ironically, I had a bad review not long ago, and it was just somebody who I fired. But you contact Google, and under certain circumstances, you get it removed.
Awesome.
So I'm running literally 99.99% 5 out of 5 stars.
Awesome.
And a couple of those 5-star reviews could have been a 1-star if I didn't step in and step up to the plate.
I mean, own your mistakes.
Own our mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I even will tell the clients, I get to know almost every client personally. I mean, you only do 60 or 80 sunrooms a year. It's not that difficult. It's a lot of business, mind you, and it's a lot of responsibility. But you phone the client before they call you. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, I call it the baker dozen mentality. Don't be afraid to give the customer a little bit extra. Okay? Something, just a warm fuzzy on the back end. Well, I wanted, can you run my downpipe into my trees? Absolutely. How much would you charge me for a different door? Don't worry about it, sir. They're spending $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 now, and you got to be careful not to give away too many $300 bills because it adds up in a year. But the same token, this is my thing for you. You have been fantastic to work with as a client. I will do that, and don't worry about it. There's no bill. And if you are giving them a ballpark price, one customer we did last fall, actually she sent me a letter with a check, final check, thanking me. We did extra landing work. It was not maintenance free. We turned it maintenance free. And I gave her a quote, and she was a little bit held back. She said, oh heavens, I didn't think it would be that much. I said, well, that is what I've guesstimated it to be, and hopefully if I have the opportunity, I'm going to raise it, I'm going to lower it a little bit. Anyways, and I did. I took, it was $280 off. And she sent me a letter saying thank you very much for that. So that is the last correspondence I have with a client.
Sweet.
That's cool.
That's great.
And getting those Google reviews, people don't care. They're happy with their goods. So normally they don't, it's not like you left a restaurant and have this hankering to leave a review for for whatever. You have to actually ask for them.
Okay.
If they're unhappy, you're going to get a
100%.
negative review.
Negative always works.
But for a happy review, occasionally say, I'll tell you what, sir, I've wrapped your stay. I'll tell you what, the job is finished. You're happy with everything. You're not obligated at all. But if you were to give me a Google review, I'd appreciate it. I like to think that you took advantage and benefited from being able to read the reviews before you hired us.
Yeah.
Just pass that on to the next people in the future. Just a nice way of putting it. And some people say, I've never done a review in our life, because we do work with a lot of seniors.
Absolutely.
And we've put together a cute little email. It's a how-to Google review for newbies. And even in there, it even says, if you still don't figure it out, find a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
And they'll do it for you.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that was actually kind of neat.
Cool.
And then, and the business just keeps coming. One year we actually, most people will buy one sunroom in their life at most. And I've actually worked on houses where they've sold the house we've worked for, and they actually have gone to another house and we built a sunroom for them. It's a guaranteed sale if we don't put a stupid number to it.
Yeah.
Okay? As long as they don't feel dollar for value. You have two lines. You have price. You have perception of value. Where they intersect is a sale every time.
I like that.
Perception of value. And I have lost deals because our product line is a little upper scale. And it was kind of funny because one guy said to me, well, for your price, I can buy two of the others. And he happened to be having a pretty nice little shiny black Lexus outside. And I said, well, how come you didn't buy two Toyotas? You bought a nice Lexus. And he kind of laughed. He said, I got your point. But respectfully, not everybody needs a Rolls Royce. Not everybody needs a Chevy. Okay? And if I don't have the product for them, I will be happy to tell them, go to this company. He's a really good guy, and he's got exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And never be afraid to give free advice.
100%. Yeah, man.
Free advice.
That's really nice.
That's what I would do, and if you will always get back what you give in the long run.
Absolutely. Giving is the greatest thing I've ever learned in my entire life.
Yeah.
You give and give and give. I don't mean like to get taken advantage of, but intelligently.
Yeah.
It is by far the most powerful thing on the planet.
I get people that come in here all the time looking for some little part, and they got it in their hand, and said, do you have one of these? I've been all over the city, and I go, you know what? I think I do. Up in we have a boneyard of things that we've kept. So I run over there, I grab the one, I come back, I give it to him, fresh in the package. He said, what do I owe you that? I said, nothing. Don't worry about it. It's been sitting up in the archives for like 5 years, collecting dust. It does me no good. And you give them that. I've had customers actually deliver bottles of booze for me, not even knowing I don't drink. But
you don't drink?
Not really, a little bit.
Okay.
But I mean, nice bottles of whatever at Christmas time, and I've had people, just so many things that people have done. We don't have it up here anymore, but in our other office, Google reviews and internet is where people see the letters of thanks. I should put it back up. We had a massive board, and it was probably a ½ an inch thick of just nothing but happy letters over the years that we had accumulated.
You should put that up.
I should put it back up.
That's
I really should.
Sweet.
And I used to put them in the corner of our home show display.
Yeah,
and it was kind of cool.
Super intelligent. Yeah, it's just and it's great.
People just walk up and look at it. And when we moved from the corner building to this building, we just didn't put a spot up for it. They're all in a big binder. And it's funny because some of the pages are starting to age and everything. And maybe I should put them back up. And that is how we got our referrals.
100%.
And just recently, we have a client that has 99% committed to a very large project, 4-season sunroom, every bell and whistle, and it's a full-on fancy Mercedes. And we're able to make one phone call to a lady we did a job for last year, and basically we just said, could these people come to your house? I'm not going to send weirdos. They're just really nice folks, and they just can't comprehend the whole concept, and yours was very similar to theirs.
Right.
And the customer said, absolutely.
Of course.
Now, what a nice feeling.
Yeah.
And when the smoke clears, I'll mail them a little gift certificate
Yeah,
for
yeah,
Tim
yeah.
Hortons or something like that as a thank you for their time.
Sweet.
Yeah, I would do that all the time.
Okay, my next question is, I always finish with this, what's the future for Paul? And what are your goals, missions for the company and for yourself personally? Like when you think of 5, 10 years, where are you gonna be?
The true exit strategy, I think.
Because you're getting that. Yeah.
I would actually like to think we're going to find someone who is intelligent enough to run the company. Not intelligent, diligent enough with what it takes to take on the day-to-day operations so I could be more of an absentee owner. That's my biggest goal.
And what are you gonna do when you're absentee owner?
I do have a hobby of older cars.
Okay.
I have a collection of classic and vintage Cadillacs. So, and it's my thing, and I do frequent the larger car auctions in the United States.
Like Barrett Jackson?
Yeah. Las Vegas.
Really?
Yeah, and
Cool.
not that I'm going to buy and sell a whole bunch, but
It's like looking.
yeah, I like looking, and I did sell one of my cars there recently.
Did you?
And yeah, I did very well. It was a nice. I'm a detailed nut. For my relaxation or off time, I will detail a car.
Really?
Absolutely.
So you'll polish it, you'll get the...
Detail it, I'll fix something, I keep looking at it. I'll never buy junk and I'll never buy anything that needs to restore. I buy a very clean car and my goal is to make it as perfect as possible.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's your meditation?
That's my meditation. And I'm also a member of the Cadillac LaSalle Club in Las Vegas. And
so cool.
Yeah, and for the 1974, 1975, 1976 Cadillac era, I am a judge.
No.
I am too.
No.
Yeah,
So how did you get there? How long you been in the club for?
12 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Sweet.
In '09, when there was a U.S. Housing crunch, we were fortunate enough to be able to take advantage of acquiring a house in Las Vegas. So, and of course, I got to know the Cadillac guys there and became a member of the club. I've always been a member of the Cadillac LaSalle Club International, which is worldwide. And then the Las Vegas chapter, hey, that's cool.
Super cool.
I'm not down there enough. I spend more time there in the winter time. And for the time that we've owned that house down there, we've called ourselves snowbirds in training because we're not there enough.
I'm working on it too, my man.
Yes, you are.
Working on it too, my
Yeah,
man.
with your place that you just built. Good
Yeah.
for you. And we're there when we can. And in fact, there is a really nice event Cadillac show is hosting. Or Cadillac Club's hosting, and it's called Cadillac Through the Years. And I was at it last year. In fact, I got a trophy for one of my cars down there.
Money.
So it kind of was nice.
I love it.
And where it's actually, I think it's May 7th. And we're contemplating on just catching a weekend flight for it. I will.
This is your
I
thing.
think I will.
That's badass.
And then Barrett Jackson is now at the new conference center in Las Vegas, which is an incredible facility. And I haven't been to that one yet. They just started that new venue. But I think that's the third week of June.
Sweet.
And I would very much like to go to that as
You
well.
gone in there.
Oh yeah.
It's
So
one of those
if
like things where it's just like
I can justify going if I put a little overtime in the next few weeks.
perfect.
And I'll be good with that. So that's what I would really like to do. And I would, as far as the company is concerned, I would like maybe one of the guys would be willing to maybe take over the company.
So buy you out, or would
Buy
it be
me
like
out.
a percentage kind of thing?
Buy me
Basic
out.
for 5 years or something.
In a perfect world, I don't want these guys to lose a good thing because they're making good money, they're raising their families.
Yeah.
They're very good. If this company was to go out of business for whatever reason, those men would all be instantly hired at any Sunderm company in Edmonton and be their best installer overnight.
100%.
I really truly believe that.
Cool.
But if I could turn this on a business level, if I could turn this into a turnkey company, I would sell it to an interested party, and then I would like to just become a salesman.
Right. Yeah.
And then,
same
of course,
part-time.
I would work part-time.
Like is it Bernard who's part time?
Bernard works 6 months of the year.
Yeah. Something
Yeah.
like that.
And he comes in from over 10 years. He's been 6 months on, 6 months off.
I like his style.
And I would like to do something similar. And of course, I would be here to advise the new owner and tell them the way I would do things, and it's their business, you know.
Do you have a candidate? Do you have like a...
No, I don't.
No one in mind?
No one in mind yet. And the guys have seen what my main guys, installers, they see what this business has done for me financially. I'm sure they're conscious of how we've done.
Yeah.
But at the same token, they don't want anything. They know that their lives are going to change if they become a business owner.
Yeah, 70 hours a week.
Not everybody should do that.
It's intense. Like, I'm just at the beginning, and I just know how much time it takes just to get crumbs. I like did 7 years in the oil patch.
Yeah.
And I after 7 years, I got like a crumb now, and I like the crumb, but it's just like
So
I wasn't spending on nothing extravagant. It's just paying off debt, buying houses.
That's right.
And then now it's just like finally a little bone is thrown.
And it's a good feeling, isn't it?
It is, because it's 7 goddamn years, you know. And now it's just like, well, how do I 5x or 10x? It's not my mind.
Exactly
It's just
right.
my mind is like full on. Like I'm doing podcast now. I want to talk to
That's cool.
the people that do that kind of thing.
Well, I like the business. In the perfect world, someone with more money than brains would come in and just write me a big check. But in reality, banks will not give good faith money. We can buy assets.
Right.
You know, my biggest problem is when I retire, we have all these commercial buildings to get rid of. Okay,
Well, that's not too bad.
well, I mean, it's a good problem,
It's a good problem.
but the feds are going to hit me on it, and I'm working on that right now.
Right.
And more than likely, you won't be selling the business with the building. You'll just be selling the business, and maybe the person will become a renter for a while.
Right.
But I'd love to be there to make sure that they would have good success.
Sweet.
And it's not that difficult if they can do the little things on their own. But there's very basics that I've gone over with the way you treat your client, the way we buy inventory, and giving the boys a fat turkey at Christmas. As long as they stick to that, I guarantee this company will be successful to the next guy.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Paul. This was awesome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It was fun.
And well, maybe one of these days we'll have to come check out that Cadillac collection.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Anytime,
much.
my brother.